Hey, I'm Kai, and today I'm going to check out the Mooer Prime S1. This is an all-in-one compact modeler with 4 foot switches, and I'm excited to dive into it and see what it's all about. Now, this demo is sponsored, as Mooer have sent me this product out for review, but I encourage you to make up your own mind based on the sounds you're hearing and the specs of the device, rather than taking my opinion on blind faith. So I've done the GTRS, which has got Mooer's modeler built into the guitar. I've done the Prime P2, which is sort of a headphone rig, and now we've got the Prime S1. This is a full guitar rig controlled by an app on your phone. I've got the app running here, but I'll also run a screen recording for all of the important stuff. To start, I'd just like to say that the app is super easy to learn, even for beginners. Everything's nicely signposted, and it's very easily laid out. As for the unit itself, we've got 4 foot switches on the unit. These are going to be your 4 different presets per bank, however you can also change bank by pressing 2 presets at a time. I'm splicing this bit of the video in later on because I completely forgot to mention one of the most major parts about this unit. It's entirely wireless if you want it to be. It's got a rechargeable battery inside it that's about 2000 milliamp hours, so it lasts for quite a while. It should be about 5 hours on a single charge, I think. This means that you can plug your guitar straight into it, a pair of headphones, and you'll be good to go, or you could even run it out to front of house in a live situation. One weird thing that I did notice here is that you can't set up the foot switches to be simple on-off for different effects. So if I want one preset to be on the device and have one foot switch to turn the overdrive on, one foot switch to do the delay and reverb, for instance, you can't do that on this device, and you actually have to get a second foot switch, the Mooer F4, in order to make this work. For the I/O on the unit, you've got a single input. You have a stereo-ish output. It doesn't actually process your guitar tone in stereo, so I think the stereo outputs are mainly there if you're jamming along to a Bluetooth track, for instance, and you would like that to come out stereo through your speakers. Other than that, everything's super simple. You've got a headphone input, you've got a USB-C, which is going to do all of the sort of desktop stuff where you can add your own impulse responses, for instance. You've got a master volume slider rocker thing, and you've got the rather self-explanatory on-off power switch. One thing I say with pretty much all digital modelers is you can learn a lot from the stock presets. So we're going to start there. So we're going to start with the first 4 presets in the unit. These are going to be the first ones that load up when you turn it on. These are dumb clean, dumb drive, dumb lead, and dumb rhythm. These are all going to be assigned to the 4 foot switches on the pedals, so we'll quickly cycle through those and see what we're working with. So that's going to be the first bank of 4 presets. I found that to be rather uninspiring, really, and, you know, rhythm is spelt wrong on here, so it's not the best first impression with the unit, I have to say. But let's flick through some more of these stock presets and see if there's anything that we like. think there is merit in looking through the stock presets to see what kind of tones they were going for. If it's all based on super modern stuff, then it's going to be a modern sounding unit. However, if everything's geared towards, say, copying Led Zeppelin's tone, you know that it's going to be more of a vintage inspired unit. I'm finding the Prime S1 to be a fairly good balance, however it is somewhat weighted towards those classic tones. I'm now going to quickly play through two tones that I've created for this unit, and then we'll talk about it some more. This first tone is going to be a clean tone, bordering on more ambient sort of things, so let's hear what we've done with this. The other tone I've dialed in is more of a grungy thing where we've got a great big fuzz pedal into the front end of a British stack. So I'm going to start with this tone dry, then add in the modulation, and then add in some delay and reverb after that. Quickly guide you through the app. On this preset we've got an overdrive, which is the Black Rat. We've got an amp, which is we've got a cabinet, which is going to be the Citrus 4x12. The modulation that we had enabled was just the regular flanger. The dynamic noise gate is currently bypassed. Then for delay we've got reverse. Reverb we've got Hall, and the EQ's bypassed as well. You can reorder all of these, so you can tap and hold it, drag it where you like it. That works quite nicely. One thing that you can't do that I believe you can do on the Prime P2, though I can't quite remember, is change out one of the effects for a different type of effect in that block. So the reverb, for instance, could be a second delay. In this Prime S1, it's all locked in place and you can only have that reverb as a reverb. This is somewhat limiting and does kind of harm the workflow a bit, but I guess it's in the interest of simplicity. This Prime S1 does retail for about £140, £150, so it's still quite a lot of bang for your buck. That said, I do think a lot of things in this unit are limited solely by firmware and not necessarily by the hardware itself. While this pedal does have a looper and a drum machine, I'm not going to run through them in this video because it's really not my speed, but know that it's there if you need it. I did want to keep this video short and mainly focus on the review aspect of it, as well as the tones, but if you'd like to see a full run through and tutorial of how to use it, how to set it up and all that stuff, be sure to let me know in the comments and I can make that happen for sure. So onto the review portion. As I'm already familiar with the GTRS, the Prime P2 and the amps in the Mooer Preamp X2, and they all sort of share the same ecosystem, I knew that I'd be happy with the tones in this unit. As far as I can tell, this S1 seems to follow the P1 firmware, which means that the outputs are mono and it's lacking a few effects that the Prime P2 has. This does feel somewhat neutered in comparison to the P2, however I do think the form factor is much better. I expect we'll see a Prime S2 in this same sort of range with a more expensive price point but much better features. Especially with the foot switches, I really wish you could set up the foot switches exactly how you want them. So you could have maybe your first preset and your second preset on the first two, and then an engage and disengage effect for the second two foot switches. I think that would be really powerful. Let's also have a quick tap of the chassis while we're here so you can hear the sort of material we're working with. It's a plastic construction, but as a result it comes in at only 350 grams, which if you're looking for a lightweight rig, this is absolutely the one to get. For my last negative, this is a strange one to even bring up in a demo because it's not something I can show you, but the unit does kind of smell like burnt rubber. I don't really know how to explain it, but it was quite pungent when I opened the box. Overall, I really like this thing. I think the form factor is Mooer's best form factor yet. I think a couple of things could be tweaked from the firmware side, and I do hope we see an S2 with these tweaks because that would be the best one so far for sure. The app, the ease of use, the learning curve, all of that is some of the easiest to get to know that I've tried in any modeler so far. You can make up your own mind on the sounds based on what you heard in this demo, but I personally really like it, especially in the room. It may come across differently in the recording, but this is my opinion so far at least. So thank you for watching this demo. If you enjoyed it, be sure to check out the demo I did of the Mooer Prime P2. I went a little bit more in depth into the app features and things like that, like the looper and the drum machine, so be sure to check that one out if you're interested, as it may give you some more insight on what you can do with the S1. Other than that, if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like, a comment and a subscribe. It goes a long way towards helping me out. Thank you for watching. I've been Kai.